This is Kevin Sorbo. If you're unfamiliar, he was famously Hercules. He played Hercules in that old TV show from the 1990s. He's a meme now where he screams, "Disappointed," if you remember that.
This isn't my world. Disappointed!
So anyway, that's Kevin Sorbo. If you were wondering, he's famous for that. That's probably his most famous moment ever. Oh, and he's also famous for being a complete right-wing nutcase. Check out what he had to say recently. This is actually from mid-April 2024. Listen to this.
I'm in total agreement with that. I think it's a total waste of time unless there's a handful out there like Liberty University or Oral Roberts. There's a couple really good colleges out there, but for the most part, these colleges, starting from kindergarten, are just indoctrination camps. We're homeschoolers. My wife's a homeschool advocate. She travels the country talking about that. Thank God about COVID. One of the blessings was 2 million more families woke up and homeschool now because they saw how horrible our public education system is. Here in the state of Florida, in the last 3 years, we totally dismantled 12 highly super left liberal school boards and put it with people that have good moral convictions. They want kids to have a proper education, not being taught about how to hate white people or not being taught how to, that being woke and attacking anybody that doesn't agree with you is a good thing. And
did somebody teach you in school to hate white people, Kevin? Have you ever heard of anybody teaching anybody else in school to hate white people or quote unquote woke policies? What are you even talking about? You know what this reminds me of? I'll tell you what this reminds me of. It reminds me of that time that Republican guy was running for governor of Pennsylvania, got 40% of the vote, almost won. And this is his campaign speech right before the election, Doug Mastriano. This close to being our governor in Pennsylvania.
On day one, the sexualization of our kids, pole dancing, and all this other crap that's going on will be forbidden in our schools.
Pole dancing in schools. He thinks people are teaching children to do pole dancing in schools.
On day one, all the graphic books that are in elementary schools will be pulled out.
You think they're showing to elementary school kids? That's where we're at, guys. That is the level that we've found ourselves in discourse at this point with Kevin Sorbo and others.
Not being taught how to, that being woke and attacking anybody that doesn't agree with you is a good thing. And
attacking anyone who doesn't agree with you is a good thing? Well, yes. I mean, not attacking, but criticizing. Yes, absolutely. You should criticize people who don't agree with you. Where did you get the idea that you shouldn't do that? What are you even talking about? Anyway, he mentioned his wife, Sam Sorbo, said that she's been going around the country talking about homeschooling, and she has, in his defense. He's correct about that. This is Sam Sorbo on the right. This clip is actually really old. Yeah, this is early December 2021 when Sam Sorbo showed up on Flashpoint to talk about homeschooling and stuff.
Education is the 3 F's: faith, family, and freedom.
I don't know how those things connect to literally anything at all, but okay, go on.
And there's only one way for them to get that, and that's to be with their parents. And so I'll say this.
So many non sequiturs here. Okay. Why is education, faith, family, and freedom? What do those things have to do with each other? And why are you telling me the only way that people can get faith, family, and freedom is to be with their parents? My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses and disowned me, and I was taken in by a good Methodist woman who actually followed Jesus' command of loving your neighbor as yourself and taking care of the poor, feeding the hungry, giving water to the thirsty. You visited me in jail when I was locked up. You gave me a place to sleep when I was homeless. You know, all that junk. She did that for me. She wasn't my blood family, but she was my family. So why are you talking about getting this stuff from parents? What does any of this have to do with anything? Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Quick interjection, don't skip forward, it'll just take a second, I promise. Watch the video to the end if you can, or at least a couple extra minutes. Every extra minute counts, because YouTube bases video reach off of watch time. Also, I'd appreciate it if you guys checked out my new book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a history of the religion mixed in with my own history of the religion. The last chapter of this book is this book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not basic stuff either. I really get into the weeds, but they're both consumable for somebody who's never been a member of the religion. Link to both of them is in the description. You can check them out on Amazon, Kindle, anywhere books are sold, or you can go to owenmorganbooks.com to find out more. Oh yeah, and this book is basically copyright free. The only stipulation is you have to keep the copyright page in, and you can't make money off of it. If you want to share it, if you want to show it on stream, if you want to add to it, you want to print 500 copies at cost, you can feel free to do that. You just can't sell it to other people. I thought it might be useful in unwitnessing campaigns, along with some stickers. I also sell signed copies on my Etsy shop, which again can be found on owenmorganbooks.com. You can also hear it on Audible if you want to hear the audiobook version instead. Okay, back to the video.
For them to get that, and that's to be with their parents. And so I'll say this: evolution doesn't give a crap about equality.
No, evolution is like, what does that even mean? So many non sequiturs.
Doesn't give a crap about equality. Evolution believes in inequality, okay? If you're teaching your child evolution, you're teaching them slavery and inequality.
I'm sorry? No, you're teaching your child, if you teach them evolution, you're teaching them about how life forms changed from one to the next. You know, there are 3 pillars to evolution. The 3 pillars are basically this: gene duplication, gene mutation, and selection. Those 3, okay? Gene duplication happens when reproduction takes place. There are full-blown copies of genes that are put in the DNA strand that, you know, that don't belong, like 12 different genes for blue eyes, for example, or whatever. They're not necessary. They're just there. So that gene duplication, pillar number 1. Pillar number 2, mutation. Every now and then you get gene mutations when you reproduce. I looked this up a long time ago, and I can't cite my source on this, so you need to look this up yourself, but I'm confident enough to say it. It took me forever to find the answer. There are, on average, about 70 relevant gene mutations every time a baby human is born. I mean, there are like a billion mundane, uninteresting, useless ones, but there are about 70 per baby. So gene duplication on reproduction, and then mutating, which means changing one of those genes, like, you know, what is it, ABGT or something like that? I think those are the connectors on DNA. Well, sometimes it changes to something different, slightly different. The blue eye gene is morphed just a little bit, and now you've got green eyes instead of blue. In fact, blue eyes only evolved into humans 6,000 years ago, 4,000 to 6,000, I think. It's fairly new, all things considered. And the 3rd pillar is selection. There are a billion different types of selection. There's natural selection, there's sexual selection, there's artificial selection. There are a ton. For example, we picked the juiciest apples. We ate the juiciest apples, and thus their seeds spread further, because when we would eat the apple, we throw the core, and it would, you know, it had seeds in it, and they'd sprout and grow a new tree. The gross apples didn't have their fruit spread as easily or quickly. We artificially selected for the best apples. Avocados are an interesting one. They were stuck in a symbiotic co-evolution relationship with giant anteaters, I believe, or I think that's what it was. They would eat these avocados, and the seed would pass through them, and they'd drop the seed somewhere. And the seed is gigantic and like impossible to break for that reason. It's got a thick, like a hide on on the seed, the seed shell or whatever, to protect it as it moved through the digestive system. And then, of course, there's natural selection and sexual selection. Like, we as human beings pick the most attractive mate or whatever. So anyway, and it takes like a long time. To my knowledge, I've heard that scientists have said we could grab some kids from between 70 and 100,000 years ago, and we could bring them to now and raise them as normal humans, and it would be indistinguishable from just people. They're exactly like us, or they're close enough to being human that nobody could tell the difference. They are human, effectively. But it's a very gradual process. Evolution doesn't happen overnight. It takes hundreds of thousands, nay, millions, or even billions of years to happen. So, anyway, I don't know what she means when she says, what was it?
Give a crap about equality. Evolution believes in inequality, okay? If you're teaching your child evolution, you're teaching them slavery and inequality.
I don't know. What are you talking about? What does that mean? What does selection, gene mutation, and gene duplication have to do with slavery? Like, what? Quick interjection. I promise this won't take long. Don't skip forward. I just want to shout out my Patreon. If you guys like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, watch the video to the end if you can, or at least a couple extra minutes. Every extra minute counts because YouTube bases video reach off of watch time. All right, back to the video.
And now God is calling the remnant to fight. And fight for what? For freedom, because Jesus Christ is the author of our freedom. And evolution has nothing to do with that.
No, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with any of that or anything else that she's talked about. I am completely lost. What the hell is she going on about? She mentioned the remnant there at the end, if you notice. The remnant church is, well, their belief, when I say they, I mean the people on this TV program on Flashpoint, Sam Sorbo, Kevin Sorbo, Gene Bailey, Hank Kunneman, so on and so forth. They believe that there's going to be a remnant church. They think that this is like a prophecy in the Bible. All Christians are going to get it wrong except for like one little tiny group, and nobody else is going to care. No other, even self-professed Christians are going to care about what the Bible actually says, and there will be a remnant that rises up and creates a revival that spreads across the world and converts 2/3 of all people, I think, all mankind. I don't remember exactly what the prophecy was, but she believes that she is part of the remnant church. Sam Sorbo thinks she's a remnant. Since we've been talking about the kid who they raised into, who they homeschooled his whole life or whatever, this is him. Braden Sorbo. He's wearing a shirt that says, "The future is patriarchy." He wants a patriarchy. He thinks that it's ideal, seemingly, or preferred, that men are in power instead of women. What is wrong with you? Oh, I'm sorry. Stupid question. I already know. He was homeschooled by Sam and Kevin Sorbo.
I really was the guinea pig for my parents when it came to homeschooling.
No, really? Could have fooled me.
Homeschooling. And frankly, I'd have to say I turned out all right. I wrote a book.
I don't know about that one, but okay. He's about to plug his book. Before he plugs his, I'm going to plug mine. 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses and Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, both available on Amazon or owenmorgan.com/book. Check that out. I'd appreciate it. All right. Go ahead and plug your book, Braden.
Out all right. I wrote a book, which ironically Mike Lindell was one of the endorsers of.
Well, I guess writing a book makes you a success in his mind, apparently. Wow. He can write. Can you imagine? That's actually really impressive considering where he came from. Homeschooling with Sam and Kevin Sorbo, and he can read? Okay, I'll take it. It's the little W's.
And I'm going to self-plug. If people want to get it at sorbostudios.com, they can. But I really, don't see any reason not to homeschool, especially now. I mean,
Really? You don't? You don't see any reason not to homeschool? Well, I'll give you a reason why. I was homeschooled, and I believe it should be illegal, except for very specific cases. And in those cases where homeschooling is allowed, there should be a worker, or maybe even multiple, 2 workers per kid that visit and talk to the kid privately and make sure everything is on the up and up. They're doing their schoolwork. They're tested once every 3 months to make sure that they're on par and all kinds of other stuff. That should be the rule, in my opinion, but it's not. When I was homeschooled, I didn't do any schoolwork. 0. None. For 4 years. I did nothing. I dropped out in 7th grade, and I made it all the way to when my peers were in 11th grade without doing a single bit of schoolwork. And aside from the fact that I didn't do schoolwork, which is deeply damaging, I also didn't talk to another human being for 4 years. Actually, it was technically, I think it was 3 years, 3.5 maybe. I didn't talk to anybody except for my 2 bipolar parents, and it really f***ed my head up, like real bad, when I was younger. I was not normal for a long time. It took so much work to get to a point where I could consider myself normal, or where people on the outside, you know, the broader society, where they could consider me normal. I was just odd. I was weird. And Jehovah's Witnesses did not, they didn't contribute positively to that either. Anyway, go on, Braden. Tell me more about the patriarchy and how great you turned out.
Any reason not to homeschool, especially now. I mean, the number of homeschoolers in the past 3 years has more than doubled. I believe we have over 5 million families across the United States that are home educating their children.
That's 5 million families whose children are not getting the social interaction that they need. 5 million families who are not getting an education on par with what the state can provide and does provide to millions. You know, maybe 20% of those people really care, and they're really intelligent, and they're doing a fantastic job. And they're bringing their kids to parties and hanging out with other kids and all that other stuff, getting the social interaction they need every single day. Maybe. But all 5 million of those people believe that they're doing the right thing, even though maybe 20% is. Every single one thinks that they are. For the children's protection, they need to be in school. It should be against the law to homeschool kids, straight up.
And it's phenomenal kind of to see the growth in that community, because it really is a group that is expanding rapidly over the past couple of years, and it's great to see.
It's not great to see. It's sad. Anyway, that's Braden. I keep saying Braden Smith, like Jaden Smith, you know, Will Smith's son. No, it's Braden Sorbo. That's Braden Sorbo. Now check out what else Sam Sorbo's had to say. This is a little bit of an older one. The point that I'm trying to make with that previous one is that Sam Sorbo's son turned out bad. But, whatever. Check this Sam Sorbo clip out. This is from 2022, late July. Listen to what she said.
Why the rebranding?
So the first thing that you learn in school is you have to raise your hand to ask a question. That's a deterrent. That's actually teaching you viscerally, because you embody it. Don't ask.
Is that so? Raising your hand is acting as a deterrent and telling you don't ask? That's what raising your hand is for? I thought it was to maintain order so we don't have 30 kids screaming out questions at the same time. My mistake. What the hell is she talking about? This is like some armchair psychologist right here. Look, leave psychology to the psychologists, Sam, okay? I know you fancy yourself a PhD or whatever the hell, but you're not.
You viscerally, because you embody it. Don't ask. That actually eventually becomes trust the expert.
It does? I'm sorry, I'm missing it. I don't understand. How did you get from A to B to C here? I'm starting to wonder, does Braden know basic algebra? Because she doesn't seem to know how to move from A to B to C.
That's not education. That's not a thinking person. That's a non-thinking person. That's what the schools are turning out. That's what school produces.
Dude, when I'm old, my face can be stuck like this or like this because of all the crazy shit that I watch day in and day out. Anyway, Kevin Sorbo is convinced that he's a victim. That's the ultimate point that I'm trying to get to here. Convinced. Nobody could tell him otherwise. He went on Bannon not too long ago to talk about his persecution complex. This one is from late March 2024. Check this out.
The cathartic moment. What was the moment that Kevin Sorbo and Sam said, we can't do this anymore, we got to do it our way?
Well, I ultimately get called in by manager and agent of many years, and about 11 years ago, and they said, we can't work with you anymore because you're a Christian and a conservative, and that's going to be hard for us to get you into any studios here. And I laughed at them, and I said, it's amazing. You're the people that scream for tolerance all the time and freedom of speech. But as
Yeah, totally. I bet. Something inside me is telling me to trust Kevin when he says his agent dropped him because he's conservative and Christian. Absolutely. I believe it without question. Don't even need proof.
You're the people that scream for tolerance all the time and freedom.
You're the people that scream for tolerance all the time. What people are you talking about? You shouldn't be fired because you're a conservative, and you shouldn't be fired because you're a Christian either. I do not believe in that. But Kevin Sorbo's not a conservative Christian. Well, I guess he is both of those things, but he's something more. He is a complete, unglued from reality nutcase. And he can't stop talking about hating trans people and hating gay people and all this other junk. You know, when I left religion behind, when I left Jehovah's Witnesses, I was infuriated by the fact that I was taken advantage of by Jehovah's Witnesses. They took advantage of me. They used me. How many hours did I spend from 0 to 18 working for them for free? Got nothing back. Didn't even bring anyone into the religion, which is good, but that's the goal, and I never even accomplished the goal. I was infuriated by it. So infuriated, in fact, that I got t-shirts that said things like, he's not coming back, get over it, and it had a picture of Jesus on a cross. You know, I had really provocative shirts because I was just mad. I was angry. I eventually calmed down and realized that that's, you know, my English teacher. I was in college. She did not like that shirt at all. I realized that's not winning anybody over. That's not helping anything or anybody. People still worked with me. They just, you know, kind of laughed it off and moved on with their lives. But this is Kevin's entire personality, being a conservative Christian nutcase. This is who he is. Without those things, he is nobody. Without those things, he doesn't know who he is. So the point is, nobody fired you, Kevin, for being a conservative Christian. They fired you for being a nutcase who can't shut up about it.
Scream for tolerance all the time and freedom of speech, but as you know, it's a one-way street, and they're hypocritical just like everybody else in Washington, D.C. is. So,
no, I mean, I'm more than willing to, you know, I would hire a Christian in a second. Absolutely, no doubt. I'd hire even a conservative in a second if they could keep their biases out of the work that they're producing. You know, and I would even debate them. I'd even talk about it. Hire somebody who's conservative. We'll debate tax policy and we'll debate whatever, as long as they can keep it separate from their work. But see, that's the problem. Kevin can't. Has no idea how to do that. And honestly, I don't even believe his story. Aside from that, he's a PureFlix actor. PureFlix is the Christian version of Netflix, by the way, if you don't know what it is. It's just like all Christian stuff all the time. And Kevin Sorbo gets roles on there constantly. He's been in God's Not Dead 1, I think, and 2, or maybe it was just 2. One of them, he died and gave his soul to Jesus before he died. Turns out he wasn't an atheist after all. He really believed in all of it. He just was angry at God anyway. It's just painfully stupid. But did you catch what he said there at the end? Listen one more time. Listen real close.
For tolerance all the time and freedom of speech, but as you know, it's a one-way street, and they're hypocritical just like everybody else in Washington, D.C. is.
I don't know who they is. But the point that I'm trying to get to here is that Kevin Sorbo seems to believe that there's some kind of a united group, like a group of elites in Hollywood and Washington, D.C. that's running everything. And hilariously, Alex Jones showed up on this guy's podcast. It's called the His Glory podcast. It's Dave Scarlett on the left. Total QAnon nutcase. Don't want to go down that road right now. But listen to what Alex Jones had to say about when he was offered a role on a TV show or whatever. Kind of echoes what Kevin Sorbo is saying.
I've been a Christian since I was young, born again when I was younger, but been worldly, had a lot of problems. I'm not perfect. But I got to tell you, it happened to Mark Dice. It happened to me.
Mark Dice is another right-wing nutcase bomb thrower.
I have a bunch of other people I talked to. Before you're offered a national TV show, before you're offered a major record deal, they get you in a room and they say, listen, we want you to reject Jesus Christ and pledge yourself to Lucifer. And it was an off-record meeting with me when it happened.
Convenient, huh? It was an off-record meeting when it happened to me. I believe you. 100%. It was off-record, yeah. How convenient, right? And you weren't recording? You didn't, pull your phone out the second that some of this stuff started happening? You just forgot? You just decided not to? Decided it wasn't useful? Figured you'd just come on here and just lie to a gigantic audience and try to convince them that the quote-unquote elites are Satanists who are trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to coerce people to bow down to Lucifer?
Twice. Mark Dice tells the story because it wasn't an off-the-record meeting. It was with the largest.
So Mark Dice has video evidence of him being asked to bow down to Lucifer, is what you're telling me.
The largest reality TV show production company out there. And it happened to Mark Dice. When he told me about it, I believed it because it happened to me. It's happened to Eric Mueller, Mancow Mueller. It's happened to a bunch of other people I know. And you're sitting there in the meeting with people in a high-rise building around an office table, and you're like, are you kidding? They're like, no, we're very serious.
I see this right here. This is what I'm talking about. This is going to be with me for the rest of my life because of this jagoff right here.
And we need you to reject Christ and pledge yourself to Lucifer. And I tell viewers that story, 20 years ago, and they go, that's insane. No, that really happened.
No, it didn't. It didn't happen. If it happened, produce a shred of evidence. I will take anything. It's completely fabricated. He made it up. And apparently Mark Dice has the same fabricated, made-up story. Kevin Sorbo pretending he's some kind of a victim because he can't get hired because he won't bow down to Lucifer or whatever. Jesus Christ, dude. This one is from late August 2023.
Huge divide in our country right now, and it's perpetuated by the mainstream media, perpetuated movies, TV.
Look, Fox News Digital, top right corner. That's the watermark on here. Now, what was that, Kevin, one more time?
Perpetuated by the mainstream media.
The mainstream media, you say, is perpetuating a divide? Huh. Knock me over with the feather.
Perpetuated movies, TV. I don't harbor that kind of anger and hate towards people who have a different point of view. And it was sad to me. My manager and agent for so many years said we can't get you jobs anymore or work with you because people want, because if you're being a Christian, be conservative. And I almost had to laugh at that because.
So you're telling me you don't have an agent anymore? You don't have a guy who handles your booking deals or your gigs or your whatevers? Is that what you're trying to communicate? He dropped you because you're a Christian or whatever?
It's an industry that screams for tolerance, and yet it's a one-way street. It screams for freedom of speech, but it's Hollywood's one-way street as well. And that's just too bad.
Yeah, my God, dude. It's like an exact quote from his previous one. It's just painfully stupid, man. And to put the icing on the cake with Kevin Sorbo, Braden Sorbo, Sam Sorbo, I really want to lay it out here for you so you get a good grip on who this guy is and what he believes. Check this clip out. This one is from early July 2021.
It's amazing to me that people don't wake up and see that. And once they see it, it's going to be too late. I feel like right now,
too late. That's right.
This is Germany in 1935, where people think socialism is great and communism is good.
He very clearly doesn't have any clue what the history is of Germany in the 30s. 1933 is when things really started to ramp up. Isn't that when Hitler won his election to chancellor? Yeah, 1933. January 30th, 1933 is when Hitler won, or when he became the chancellor of Germany. And that's when things really started ramping up. Persecution for Jews was at an all-time high. And you can look at year after year, 1934, 1935, 36, 37, 38, 39. Things got worse and worse and worse every single year. 1935 was a very specific year in the progression of genocide. They were on their way to genocide. They were already kind of committing a genocide. It was just being, done in secret, effectively. Being done much quieter. 1938, I believe, they ordered the Jew hunt, which is the order that was given to find all Jews and kill them. That's it. Shoot them down in the street. Aim for the base of the skull so that it doesn't make a mess when you pull the trigger. Kill men, women, and children. There's a duo, a team of guys that were working together, police battalion members. One of them was morally opposed to killing children. He wouldn't do it, even though it was ordered. So he would kill the mother, the parent. He was okay with killing an adult. And his buddy next to him, seeing a newly orphaned child, decided to kill the child to put it out of his misery, to prevent the kid from growing up without a parent. That's how they justified this stuff to themselves. Deeply dark. And the Hitler regime, the Nazi regime, famously hated socialists and communists. They were, if you were a socialist, you were imprisoned with a red triangle. Jews got the gold star. Jehovah's Witnesses got a purple triangle. They won't shut up about it. There's usually a little section in every Holocaust museum about Jehovah's Witnesses. They had a purple triangle. And political prisoners, like socialists or communists or whatever, had a red triangle. Gay people, I think, had a pink triangle. Is that right? So go ahead. Revise the Holocaust for me, Kevin. Tell me more about this Holocaust denialism, this Holocaust revisionism you've got going on.
Right
It's
now,
too late.
everything's
That's right.
going on. This is Germany in 1935, where people think socialism is great and communism is good. Really, I wish we could send all these people that believe that way. Let's, on our tax dollars, let's send, some can go to North Korea, some can go to Cuba, some can go to
Send them
Venezuela.
to a communist country.
Bro, nobody in the United States in any sort of influence at all wants communism or socialism, okay? I'm on the left, and I'm not socialist or communist. I am a social democrat. I believe in democracy. I would like to see more co-ops in society, and I'd like to see a situation in which unions are baked right into a company. The moment a company reaches 5 people, it has a union. They all unionize automatically. I'd love to see that. Of course, I don't know that we'll ever see that. But even that, I guess, is communist in Kevin Sorbo's mind. Does he know what communist means? Is he aware that Hitler and Stalin were 2 different people that had 2 different ideologies that actually fought each other? Or no?
Some can go to North Korea, some can go to Cuba, some can go to
Send them to
Venezuela.
a communist country.
Go.
It's just a joke. And by the way, Laura Trump on the left here, I believe this is Eric Trump's wife, because Kimberly Guilfoyle is Don Jr.'s wife, and she is something else, man. Anyway, these people are shameless. It's insane. Get help, okay? This is nuts. Tell me what you think about these people in the comments. Personally, I am
Disappointed!
in all of them. Anyway, thank you, Kevin, for finishing my sentence for me. Kim and Junior have not married yet. Oh, are they just boyfriend and girlfriend, fiance, if you will? Did not know that. Knowing is half the battle, as my friend G.I. Joe says. The Sorbos have a PhD in nutter buttery. Absolutely and without question, yes. They are top tier. They know their when it comes to nutter buttery. The Sorbos do. Nobody better at that job than them. Top of the field. You want to know how to do that? They're the ones you got to ask. They are the definitive authority on the subject.